Hi there, it's lovely to speak to you today. Could you start by just introducing yourself and share a little bit about the inspiration behind founding Chapters & Co?
Hi, Millie. It's nice to be here. Thanks for the invite. I am Wael Nasr, and I'm the founder of Chapters & Co. The company was brought to life with the vision of redesigning education. We feel that it is time, particularly now with the advent of artificial intelligence and the changing landscape, both technologically, educationally, and socially, that we ought to be making commensurate changes in the education, particularly education programs. And that's what we hope to do.
Amazing. And I've seen that you have the two main programs. So you have Smiles for English and Basamat for Arabic, and it focuses on the sound-first approach to literacy. Could you explain a little bit more about what this approach entails and maybe how it differs from traditional methods?
Right. We have a very particular focus on language. Actually, we work both with language and intelligence. We feel the two are very intertwined and have a dual nature. And we started off with language, particularly with the concept of making the introduction to language far easier than it has already been. Traditionally, language is introduced to the child in the form of letters. To a young child who's 4 or 5 years old, that could be anything as much as a scribble. It's relatively meaningless. However, sound comes to us naturally. I mean, since the child is in the mother's womb, it's listening. And most of the time, we're talking to ourselves. So, and science shows that about 80% of our mind is actually processing language in the form of sound. So it is what is natural to us. And that is why we chose to move sound ahead of the letter. So it kind of flipped the table. It's a slight nuance, but it made a remarkable difference in terms of the ease of acquisition of the language to pick up that very delicate skill of decoding, which is the ability to translate a particular sound into a letter or vice versa. This specifically, so you have decoding and encoding. And that ability to see a symbol and translate it to sound is actually the most fundamental skill of reading. And if you make that easy by naturally aligning it with how the brain wants to process it, it becomes very easy. And mind you, this is not something that is restricted to any particular language. So although we started off with English, because I guess most of education now is in English, at least in the world we live in. But when we transferred it over to Arabic, it was just as easy, and it will work with any language.
It's amazing how accessible it's then becoming, being able to switch it to the different languages like that makes it more accessible across the world.
We hope so. We hope that it would be. Although languages in general can differ in their structure. English and Arabic tend to be similar because they're both based on consonant and vowel. You have some languages that include tone, such as Mandarin. That's like a third dimension to the language. It becomes a bit more tricky, but the basic concept of focusing on skill before knowledge, and hereby the skill of decoding and building that skill, it doesn't matter then what you throw it at the child. It's they have that skill. They can read anything.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I know you've mentioned in the past about AI and that it's revealed an uncomfortable truth about education, that we've been teaching content but not cognition. So could you elaborate on this idea and its implications for educators?
Right. I mean, it's kind of a provocative statement to make, I would say, but I feel it is the truth. What is meant by it is that AI made its debut to the public through ChatGPT. And interestingly, that form of intelligence is a large language model, which, essentially reveals that duality between language and intelligence. Now, we've been mostly focusing on the content. What we're trying to do is focus on the intelligence, how we arrive at information. So if a computer can achieve intelligence, why don't we take this recipe that we've all figured out? The scientists have all figured out, they've managed to build an artificial intelligence. Why don't we use that to enhance our own education, our own intelligence, through educational programs that are better suited to our young minds and are focused essentially primarily on enhancing the skills of thinking? Knowledge would be a secondary thing. We still want knowledge, but we want knowledge to follow, to be a product of the skill of thinking or reasoning. Traditionally, what happens is most of knowledge is very compartmentalized into subjects: math, science, English, what have you. And the skills of analyzing that knowledge, that particular knowledge, whether it's solving a math problem or a physics problem or writing an essay, are kind of compartmentalized within that subject. But if you step back, you'll realize that reasoning skills are universal. And if you just tease them out and focus on them from the very beginning, you can have what the whole educational community has been striving for, and calling for, such as cross-subject integration, which is one, critical analysis, but it has to come first, not later. So we're hoping that we can flip the tables, especially with the fact that we have entered an era of artificial intelligence, that we can really start focusing on human intelligence and put that at the forefront.
Yeah. I think it's really great to have that sort of challenging view on things. I know you said it's like quite a provocative statement to say, but I think that's what's needed in this age of AI, because it's just gone in leaps and bounds just this year alone. So we have to look at it from different perspectives. I think that's really important. And how do you think AI does influence the way that we think about literacy and learning in the modern age?
It's kind of a point I made just previously. It's that link to language. So simply put, simple words, simple thoughts. Complex words, complex thoughts. So as we build our language, if we make an intentional move, to build language, and I would say specifically vocabulary, because words are the building blocks of thought, of cognition. So if we make an effort towards building vocabulary, we would be making great strides in our own intelligence, just by the simple fact that simple words, simple thoughts, complex words, complex thoughts. We need thinkers.
Very well said. The results of your two programs have been described as transformative. I want to give you a chance to share perhaps some success stories or some specific examples of schools that have implemented those frameworks and the success they've had.
Well, we keep getting that. I just got a phone call earlier this morning. It's transformative in the sense of two things. Well, but basically the ease of it. So by December of your academic year, so that's 3 months in, the child is reading their first story. We get things from parents such as, my child can read the labels in the grocery store. My child loves to read. They're all excited about reading. Those are anecdotal examples. In terms of standardized tests, we like to follow data. We're very objective in what we do. So for English, we've had our students sit for the Iowa assessments, which measure reading, math, what have you, in terms of performance. For reading, students completing kindergarten, 50% of which were reading at grade 2 level. And that was amazing. Many schools, we've asked them to rearrange their first grade curriculum so that they don't need most of it. They can just shift down many of the things that they've previously taught. In terms of Arabic, they sat for Mubakkir, and it was outstanding all through. Their ability to read was exceptional. So yes, we do have the data, we have the anecdotal evidence to it, and teachers love it. The trick is you make it easy. They make it easy. They just love it.
Yeah. Oh, it's really lovely to hear, and fantastic about the success of it. Thinking about the future of education, but also the future of Chapters & Co. What role do you see the company having in shaping the future of literacy and education globally?
Well, I think our role is mostly to simplify the way we teach things, align it with the way the brain wants to learn it, and really focus on building skills rather than transferring knowledge. So yes, we're hoping that once we've completed or launched our literacy programs, we'll be tackling and researching into math, sciences, and the rest.
Amazing. Yeah. Obviously, Chapters & Co are going to be at GESS Dubai this year, which is coming up so soon in just a few weeks, and you'll be able to showcase these programs. What can attendees coming to the show expect to learn or experience about your programs?
Visit us at our stand. They would get a first-hand, in-depth introduction to our programs. We will have all our resources there, our educational consultants, and we'd be more than happy to walk them through the whole program.
Amazing. And on a final note, if you could share one key message with educators and parents about literacy and learning, what would it be?
It's time for change. We must align education with how the brain learns. When we do, skills like reading become easier. Easier builds confidence. Confidence fosters love, and that's love for reading and love for learning. Because in the end, we don't just want good readers. We want independent readers. And that's what we're hoping for.
Amazing. I think that's a lovely note to finish on. It's been lovely to speak to you today, Wael, and we're very much looking forward to seeing you and the rest of the Chapters & Co team in GESS Dubai very shortly.
Same here. Hope to see you soon.